welcome to another episode of Sequel Pitch, the podcast where four film-loving friends watch a movie that hasn't got a sequel and then fight to the death to see who has the best idea for one. I am Andy Henry, your host and only pitcher after winning last week. And that's the comedy gold you'll be expecting this week as we watch the 2019 Todd Phillips film, The Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix. So, yes, for legal reasons, I couldn't kill all my friends. Joining me back this week are Ross Harmston, the Viking XL, Matt Rushton, and our very special guest judge. He's a writer for Film Hounds magazine, Cinerama Films Online, Radio Times, The Digital Fix, Certified Forgot, and Massive Cinema. It's Sab Astley.
Hello.
Hey, Sab. Woo! Unfortunately, Drew Toynbee couldn't be with us this week, but he will hopefully be with us next episode. Sab, thank you very much for coming down and judging for this week. And being our very special guest, we have relinquished the strict 60-second synopsis. Over to you, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Okay, right. Here we go. Arthur Fleck is a party clown and aspiring stand-up comedian living in 1970s Gotham with his old mother Penny. He has a condition of laughing at inappropriate times, causing him to be beat up a lot. His clown co-worker Randall is like, "You need a gun," and gives him one while he pursues his single neighbour Sophie romantically. After his gun falls out at a children's hospital, Arthur gets fired and is sad clown man on the subway home, when, here come three Wayne Enterprises employees. They ridicule and start to beat him up, and Arthur shoots the first two in self-defense and third in cold blood, because why not? This begins an anti-capitalist clown movement against Gotham's rich, while Arthur's life gets worse and worse. He's no longer taking his meds or going to therapy because of budget cuts. Sophie comes to his stand-up routine, but he completely bombs. To make matters worse, he intercepts a letter from Thomas Wayne to his mother. Maybe Thomas Wayne is his dad? He tries to confront Thomas Wayne at a party, who tells him Penny is a liar. Arthur steals a file from Arkham State Hospital which proves Penny did work for Thomas, but that she's also a narcissist and allowed her boyfriend to abuse Arthur. As if this wasn't damaging enough, Arthur's also been doing a fight club on us. His interactions with Sophie never happened, making his appearance in her apartment terrifying for her. Feeling betrayed by his mother, he smothers her with a pillow. Soon after, Arthur sees his stand-up routine from the club on Robert De Niro's Murray Franklin variety show, where he labels him a joker. He gets invited onto the show. As he's appearing to head downtown, old clown colleagues come to see him, including Randall, who he violently murders. Arthur, now fully clowned up, evades the police from a mass of clown protesters, making his way to Murray's production. He asks Murray to be introduced as Joker, and following possibly the worst guest appearance on a variety show, shoots Murray in the head live on television as revenge. He's arrested, but the clown revolution has spiraled out of control. In the background of the carnage, Thomas and Martha Wayne are killed by a rioter. The riots lead to Arthur's police car being totaled, and he's hauled out and dances for the crowd as he paints a bloody smile across his face. But suddenly, we're in Arkham Hospital. Was it all a dream? Arthur tells his therapist, and maybe us. You wouldn't get it.
Ooh, nice.
That was solid.
I mean, that's pretty
dream.
close to 60 seconds, probably.
Well done.
That's right.
Yeah, closer more than we ever got. So.
Yeah.
All right, so fellas, let's go around, give a quick thoughts once over. What are everyone's first impressions?
Let's kick off with Sab. I think I want to hear Sab's thoughts first.
Let's go for Sab.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I was talking about this with some friends not too long ago. I think stylistically, I really like the film. Like, it looks and sounds amazing. Like, it genuinely looks like 1970s, which I really appreciate. I just don't think it's like that good of a script. I think it's like, when it first came out, I got really sucked up into the whole media storm of, this film is dangerous, we need to stop this film. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, what was I even talking about? I think it's such an interesting case because it got swept up in such a media storm, and it's so surprising that this won the Berlin Award. But I think it's just an okay film, ultimately. Like, I don't actually think it's that bad, but I also don't think it's that good. I, recently watched Todd Phillips' previous film, War Dogs, and I was like, oh, Joker makes, a lot more sense now in my head. I kind of get more what he's going for. It doesn't make it better, but it's more like, oh, okay, I kind of understand where he's at. It's kind of led me to think, oh, him and Adam McKay are kind of similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, going from kind of comedy into drama-ish.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting, Matt.
I agree with a lot. In terms of the stylistic, the cinematography is great. The colour is incredible. One one of the key things that stands out for me is the use of colour throughout this, and how it almost feeds his personality and feeds his emotions into camera. I'll give Joaquin Phoenix kudos. His performance is electric. Like, he is...
Absolutely.
He's a standout in it. I'd be concerned to be his therapist after it. But, you know, ultimately, I think, and we kind of talked, Ross and I kind of talked a bit about this after watching it, like, it's just a bit pretentious. Like, it's a movie that's kind of up its own arse a bit. And, you know, it tells a story. It tells a story that people aren't used to. It could tell the story a lot better in some ways, but I think it's very lucky to have Joaquin Phoenix on board, because ultimately he manages to tell the story without the words on the page that, you know, I think we wanted to, or certainly I wanted to see this kind of story. And I think that, the script, as you said, Sab, it holds him back from what could have been, like, truly one of the most amazing films that I think we could have seen to come out of the DC universe. But ultimately it got let down by poor script writing, just way too much indulgence. Like, it just felt like everything was overindulged. But yeah, you know, I still enjoyed the film, watching it. It's not a film I don't enjoy.
Yeah. Oh, Ross, what about you then?
I'm gonna say I really love the film. I agree with the cinematography. I think the soundtrack as well is really good. Hildur, I don't know, I can't pronounce that.
Yeah, it's such a
Yeah,
hard
I
name.
kept I kept coming back to the soundtrack, actually making notes, going like, soundtrack's really good.
It just
put on my list.
It's just a really good soundtrack to go with that film as well. Like, and the way they used the soundtrack, you know, in the bathroom dance scene and stuff, that was cool. When I saw this at the cinema, I was like, yeah, that was so good. On the second watching it on Amazon Prime, it wasn't as good as I remember it being. I agree with Matt and you guys in terms of, it can come across a little bit pretentiously. Like, it definitely is a very slow film, a very slow film. But I don't know. It's probably because of Joaquin Phoenix's performance in it. The fact that he was allowed to just do whatever. Like, you know, there's a scene in that film where he gets into a fridge, and that was just that was
so
unplanned.
Odd. So odd.
Yeah.
Wasn't that after like a fight or something? I felt like he did that to kind of numb some muscles or something. Maybe I'm not remembering.
No,
I thought he just got in a fight, or
it was an improvisation thing, and they just started and they filmed it. And I also look at it as a weirdly, because it doesn't really feel like a superhero movie, but I look at it as in terms of the DC brand and the DC films that they've released. Yeah. And this was so out of the box that for me, I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Might be the best DC film out there. Like,
in a while.
I know it's not trying to be a DC film, so
yeah.
Well,
Since like Dark Knight, basically.
I was like, Ross, you said sounds like there's something a bit missing. Matt said it's missing. You know, you wish you had more. What then? If this wasn't connected to the DC, then if it maybe was called Joker, but wasn't actually connected to DC, do you think this would have done better or worse?
Is it connected to the DCEU?
Oh, God.
I don't know.
It's not connected to the DCEU, but because of, like, I don't know, maybe just the idea or being overshadowed by the DC name.
I think,
and if it had no connection, and say changed it, maybe it wasn't called Joker, it was just called the Comedian.
Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, I think like the Joker is quite possibly the most synonymous villain with comic books. Like, I think he's universally known as, you know, as Batman's biggest arch nemesis, but he's known way beyond that. Like, you don't have to be a DC nerd to know the Joker. You don't really need to be a DC nerd to know Batman. But, you know, there's been so many iconic performances of the Joker down the years. You know, Heath Ledger being one of the most synonymous ones, and obviously all the tragic events that followed that. You know, it's it comes with a real gravity to it, and I think people will always expect something that they understand. I think Jared Leto's Joker got such a bashing because it was so far away from anything that people had seen before in live action. They'd seen it in the animated series, and you kind of walk a line with Joaquin Phoenix's where it's almost quite ambiguous what its feeds are and what parts and what comics they've taken this Joker from, and I think that helps in a lot of ways, but also kind of hinders because you never really, they talk a lot about the mental health, but then you also bring in the green hair to it, and you bring in the very pale makeup that we've seen in the most recent Leto one. So
I was waiting for that. Like, I was kind of almost waiting for him to tie his hair green. That's just got me the idea. I was like, if this had nothing to do with this character, I wonder if it would have just made more of an impact or done a bit different.
I think part of the reason why it works so much is because, like, if you actually kind of try and pretend for a minute it's not Joaquin Phoenix, the way it's being played is like really ridiculous, like bordering almost parody. But I think because Joaquin just gives so much of himself into the role that you really just believe it. Like, it goes beyond it being kind of absurd because, like, if you, like, for example, we take that fridge moment. If you replace Joaquin Phoenix with Jared Leto, everyone goes like, that's just so weird that he did that.
Well, Jared would have been flexing a lot more as well to the camera
that's true.
before he gets into the
He would have
fridge.
got to be like, guys,
He's like, this fridge here? Like,
But I think
this here?
I think
biceps everywhere.
I think just because he properly embodies the role so much, even down to his physicality, I think he just manages to bring a seriousness to it that I don't think anyone was really expecting out of like a Joker origin film.
Yeah, well, you talk about his physicality. Obviously, he was very skinny for this. I think he lost 56 pounds or something, and that's shot maybe the first, when he had his back, we could see his spine, his really spindly arms, like
going in the air,
yeah. It was definitely, it was a little bit.
I'll tell you, I really like the like sort of the reference or the homage to King of Comedy with Robert De Niro.
Well, do you think he was a good talk show host?
Yeah, I think.
I would not watch his show if he had one. I thought he was awful. I understand trying to have him in because to like homage that and all that lot. But oh god, he was awful as an actual talk show host. I would. I don't know what I can say. It's just like for Robert De Niro. I was like, he's also got like no, I don't know, like charisma or anything. But
yeah, he's like the
Robert, if you're listening,
he was the worst bit of the film. Was this?
Yeah, famous actor, Oscar winner, fucking Robert De Niro. If you're listening, you were shit.
Well, of course he is. He's dead.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like the fact that they sort of played on that King of Comedy sort of story, but they went like, because I've seen King of Comedy. I love that film. It's a good movie, and I really like the fact that they sort of homage to that in this.
It wasn't too much for you because that was one of the criticisms when this first came out. Was basically it was basically this and Taxi Driver.
I mean, you could say that about any movie that is a homage to any other movie.
Yeah.
I didn't think that let it down. Yeah.
You let it down? Why?
No, I said I don't think it let it down.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. They got some beautiful, so the script is a bit, but there are some good lines where he's like, where he says, I used to think my life was a tragedy, but now I just realize it's a fucking comedy, and then brutally murders his own mother.
And the bit where he does shoot Murray, you get what you fucking deserve.
That's undeniably an amazing moment. And I will say, I do really love the kind of like, it's almost shot like a horror when he's in the train and he's shot both of them, and then there's a guy who's just running. And then I don't know what it is, but I remember seeing it in the cinema, and I swear that like the sound mixers just amp up the sound for that final shot because it's almost terrifying how loud it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is the point where he crosses the line, isn't it? Because he obviously voluntarily shoots that. So yeah, that could have been an intentional move.
Do you think we needed the scene with Bruce Wayne? I don't know if I needed that.
No.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was talking about, like having it connected to the DC.
I guess they had to have something.
It was trying to make him still, trying to be a bit lighter-hearted. I think he was still trying to show he hadn't gone all the way crazy.
Do you know what I can't wait for?
I do admit,
I can't wait to listen to your pictures and explain how the fuck, if you've got Bruce Wayne in it, and how old he is compared to how old Joker is in it.
Well, it's because Joker's quite
He's
ageless.
Yeah,
so you get away with it.
Joker's definitely
And he's
the age
probably
of
about
Joaquin
13.
Phoenix.
I've got some notes on some ages in this.
We'll look forward to that. I think you can't. Going back to what Andy asked, like if this wasn't a DC movie, I always think like you can't have a Joker origin story and not tie it into the Bruce Wayne origins as well. Like, I think it's a nice different take almost in the fact that it was the Joker's uprising that caused the Wayne's death. Like, for me, will it feed into the Robert Pattinson movie? Who knows? Perhaps it does in my pitch. Who knows?
No, Todd Phillips has come out and said it's definitely not.
Of this one. I'm in charge of the sequel. Fuck Todd Phillips, all right?
But I was going to say, like, as a point, this was such a hard one for me to sequelize. Not because, like, I couldn't think of an idea, which also was the case, but, like... It's such a contained movie about the Joker. It would feel weird to go any other way, like with introducing Batman or any other like it's such a solo. I don't know.
It's hard to think where to take this character and still respect the first one. Definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely had that problem. But then I thought, fuck it.
It's interesting when I read your pitches, none of you went for the route that I thought some of you were going to go for, which is interesting. Because, like you say, it's so...
Yeah, bring that up at the end then.
Yeah,
Let's find out what that is. What else? What else can we say? What's... Oh, actually, Sab had a funny thing in his in the synopsis. Was it all in his head?
Well, because some people...
Do you think it was all in his head?
Some people do think that, don't they? Because there's like...
But isn't he in a completely different building from like... The first, or the whole. I guess the whole thing would be.
I think
some people.
But
sorry, go on, Sab.
There's something about time in the film, something to do with clocks. I think.
Oh,
in that, like,
yeah,
you don't see
rings a bell.
clocks
Sure.
move or something. But it's so like it's one of those things where it's like it's so vague. It could just be accidental, or maybe it's super intentional. Like it's so readable into that. There's no definitive answer.
It's actually the guys who wrote Inception have made this movie, and we just haven't even realised it yet.
There's like rumours that, well, when I first watched it, I was like, oh yeah, it could be that actually he imagined he was on that train and killed those guys, and that it was somebody else that did this, but he's taking on the role of the killer clown, and thinking that he's something that he's not. But then I was like, oh, it's probably not. It's probably not. But yeah.
And what do we think of the Fight Club reveal? I guess with was it Zazie Beetz playing his neighbour Sophie? Needed? Not needed? Helped?
I think it feeds into like the whole subject of the Joker's demise here is mental health and his breakdown of his mental health and his narcissistic personality disorder and his his disillusionment that he gets, the same as his mother. And I think, like, I was actually sat there at first, I was like, God, they're making him a victim, they're making him like this tragic anti-hero. And I'm glad that they veered a little less away from that as they dive more into his mental health. Like, it's such a delicate line to walk. And, I feel like, again, perhaps it was Joaquin's performance over the script writing, but I never at any point felt that they were doing a disservice to, people who suffer with mental health. I thought that was at least handled quite well. And I think it brought a very new, like, we very much see the Joker as the psychotic character most of the time, and we've never really had a sensitive approach into how he gets there. So I think that this whole idea of that character, suddenly he's in her living room and she's like, "What the fuck? Get out of my house! Who? Like, you're my neighbour. You're that guy that I kind of just know your name. What are you doing?" Like, I think it's an important point to start breaking down his ideals and breaking down this world he's created. So I think it then moves you from a point of like, oh, kind of not Joker, but like, I mean, this guy is dealing with a lot of shit. So it's like, actually, this guy's quite dangerous now. So I think that helps to shift those gears down into the dark depths that we end up in at the end.
I think it's one of the few, might even be the only moment where you do start to question the reliability of Arthur. Because it's one of the few moments where it's like, oh wait, hold on a minute. If none of that happened, then what's, like, can we trust this guy? It's like kind of like the one moment where you're like, okay, maybe this guy might be a little bit unstable.
Yeah.
If this isn't real, what else isn't?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess Ross alluded to whether he wants a sequel or not, because there's rumours there's one in the works. I'm guessing you don't, Ross. You want this as a one and done. Leave that as it is.
I mean, if they can figure out something, and I'm sure they will be able to, then I'm all for it. Will it be again self-indulgent? Who knows? Like, will it become a joke in itself?
Hey.
What about you, Sab and Matt? If they would you be in line for tickets if they had a sequel? Do you think, without knowing anything about what the story's about, would you be excited if they were like, "Yeah, we're going to make a second one"?
I think
same cast, same director, same everything.
I don't know is the thing, because it's like, where do you go? Like Ross said, it's such an intimate, contained film, and like the only idea, like I said, I'll say at the end, but the only idea I had for even a sequel doesn't necessarily directly continue on from this first film. So I don't know.
For me, I wouldn't watch a sequel to this film unless I knew that it was branching out into a wider DC universe, because I don't think you can. I think to make any more films about the Joker and just the Joker would water down the importance of this film in a lot of ways. You know, it would discredit the work of Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix and all the cast and crew involved, because, you know, it absolutely ends as it should. And to go in to make another sequel just for this is either purely for profit or purely for creative indulgence. So therefore, no, unless they turned round and were very clear that this is leading into something much bigger.
Yeah,
but very much this is a Joker film. It's still a story about him. Like, you can't have a sequel where it's all about God knows who, the Riddler. But
yeah, I was gonna say, kind of the way it ends is, obviously it's quite open as where it could go, but it'd be interesting to see if they do.
Indeed. I mean, when they run with my sequel pitch, like, it will.
Yeah. Of course.
It will do everything I've just suggested. Quite
they're green lighted tomorrow. Yeah. Of course.
When they get that call, they'll be like, boys.
Yeah. Right, boys.
No, they'll just take your. This is the thing: is we never copy our ideas, so they can just listen to our
Maybe
sequel
every
pitch and
studio
go.
is just waiting for the next sequel pitch on their film to come out. Like, right, download that, get the transcript up, and we'll see what we can say.
Right then, before final scores, I guess anything you would change, anything you didn't like really didn't like.
I think one thing that. It's a little.
We need Drew. We needed Drew. Drew didn't like this movie.
It's a little thing that really annoys me, but he randomly goes from calling Murray to just going Murray. It's such a tiny thing, but it really pisses me off for some reason. Because I'm like, why are you doing that? Because he just randomly starts doing it. I guess that also is in line with the Joker, because it's just like little things that just piss you off for no reason.
Murray.
Fair.
I don't know how I would change it, but I was like, once everything came out about his mum, I suddenly kind of just felt like really disconnected from her character, like because it'd been she's clearly very unwell and he was caring for her and whatnot. But it was when it kind of came out that she had all the personality flaws and was dealing with similar mental health issues that it turns out he was having, then suddenly it all just became hereditary. So therefore she was just a construct in the story.
For Arthur.
I feel like it didn't do her character any discredit, but I just became rather detached because I immediately then saw where the story was going and how Arthur Fleck was how he was because of his mother. And I was like, okay, well now you're just serving purely plot. now I have no emotional connection to you whatsoever, and when you die, you're just going to help your son go further into chaos. And lo and behold, she did, and he did.
Yeah, you're just waiting and looking at your clock, going, "When is she going to die? When's she going to die?"
So.
Right then, boys. Final scores. What do we think? How are you giving this movie out of 5? 3 and above being a recommendation. Let's start with Sab.
I'm gonna give it 2.5 clown noses out of 5 because I don't really think this film is that good. Stylistically, it's like a 4. It's just that script for me that kind of holds it back. It's like if the script was just beefed up a little bit, I think it could be something good. But yeah, 2.5 I'd say.
2.5. Matt.
I'm gonna go in a little higher. Again, I thoroughly agree. Stylistically, 4.5 even perhaps. I will detract scores for the script, but I will add some points on Joaquin Phoenix's performance. So I'm going to give it 3.5 uncontrollable laughing fits on the bus out of 5.
3.5 uncontrollable fits. Just stop halfway through. Okay. And Ross.
For me, it scores a little higher, just purely on the difference in movie and style and the choices it made in terms of an origins story and stylistically. So I'm going to give it 3.75. Sticking your fingers in a young boy's mouth.
Yeah, that was
weirdly.
I don't know why.
Making
I
him
thought he was
smile.
choking him at first. I thought he was going up to choke him. I was like, "Oh, easy, Arthur." And then I don't know if that's worse. His fingers were in his mouth, but
Not in COVID times.
Yeah.
Not in
Yeah, see
COVID times. I hope you hand sanitized your hands.
I guess I feel the. Oh, sorry, Ross. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I was gonna say I kind of agree with you all. It's all, I think, stylistically very nice. Maybe the first time I saw it, I think I was a bit like, oh, and then the second time, as Ross said, you're kind of a bit more. I guess you pay attention a bit more to like maybe the dialogue, and the script a bit more. I do think they were hindered a lot, kind of, that they had to almost. Joker hasn't got like a backstory, let's say, but they had to follow. He had to dye his hair at one point, and they had to have, as I know, like Thomas Wayne being a mayoral candidate and stuff. Didn't do much for it, but yeah, I think if they completely just had I was trying to think of the Michael Douglas film Fallen Down. You ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
And it's just a man. I love it because I don't think he's got any like mental illness or anything. He's just a man who's had enough, really kind of pissed off with life, and he's kind of downtrodden, a bit like Arthur. He's insecure and all that lot. But then he goes on a almost antagonistic narrative the whole way through the movie, and I was a bit like, I felt that this could have been not an updated version of Fallen Down, but because Fallen Down didn't have anything to hit any tick boxes basically on their checklist. I think it did fall a little bit, but I'm gonna give it 3.25 because I do think it's a recommendation. So that leaves us with a grand score of 3.25.
Nice. So that is a recommendation.
Okay, it's time to see where we take this character. Because, get ready, it's time to get your sequels pitched. Once all the pitchers have pitched their pitch, the judge and Supreme Leader Sab will ask us some questions or ask us to expand on story ideas or anything he wants. Before we all plead to him why our pitch is the best. Sab, who would you like to hear first?
I want to hear from you first, please, Andy.
Okay, so my title, because I came up with it first, is called... it's called Joker 2, The Joke's on You. And my little blurb is, Joker and a new friend go on a road trip to stop an uprising. Okay, so we open in a limo travelling to a theatre with a rich family inside. We hear over the radio it's like between, 5 or 8 years since the rise of a man or a symbol, or some know him as an icon, but he is known all around the world basically as the man Joker. And people who relate to his message have started an uprising. They broke him out of Arkham Asylum, and since then he has recruited more and more followers. And because of this, the city has suffered. Crime, arson, and murder are on the rise, and the divide between the rich and poorest is the biggest it's ever been. The limo stops outside the theatre after the guests are shown into their seats by the ushers. The curtain opens to reveal a dead opera singer, and standing above him, in blood, is Joker. He will, it's a bit long, but if anyone knows the Killing Joke, that the joke that Joker says to Batman. He'll say that. I can say it if you want, but it's like 10 lines. It's a bit long. So he'll say that. Obviously, not get a laugh. All the audience will start to panic, and when they turn around and to try and leave, they see all the ushers with Joker masks on, guns maybe, but basically not letting them leave. On stage, Joker says that society needs to change. The old ways didn't work, and now a leader has to take over with a new plan. The new plan being that everyone is equal. Joker intends to bring down everyone to the same level in society and hopes that it will make people start caring about each other. A brave member of the audience stands up and tells Joker that he is a madman and he will never be a leader. Joker freaks out and says, "If you're not with me, then you're against me," and shoots the man. The crowd panics again and Joker tells the goons to fire, but before they do, their guns are ripped out of their hands and bound together in the middle of the room. Smoke starts to fill the room and the doors are blown open, letting the guests out. Joker runs, but before he does, he sees a mysterious shadow through the smoke. And then through the smoke, we'll have the title, Joker 2, The Joke's on You. Ooh. We quickly introduce Commissioner Gordon talking to a colleague. Gordon has asked if he knows anything about this new guy in town policing the streets, taking crime into his own hands. And we have a joke or something where they're building to the name, but they never actually say his name. They never say Batman. They're basically referred to him as like the Shadow because he's quite new and unknown at the moment. And then suddenly we hear there's a disturbance at the mayor's office. Cut to the mayor's office.
Just the Batman jingle.
That's all Batman 66.
Cut to the mayor's office where Joker tells the mayor to... cut to the mayor's office where the Joker is holding up the mayor and he tells him to relinquish power over to him. The mayor says the democratic thing would be to have an election, so the Joker says, okay, and takes a vote in the room. All the goons and then the mayor's aides by force raise their hands, and Joker goes to shoot the mayor, but then in storms the Shadow, and the Shadow takes down the goons and the Joker. That night at the GCPD, Gordon is visited by Shadow, and they share clues, and then there's going to be a massive uprising of Joker's army in another country that will overthrow the government. I mean, I don't know where Gotham is based. I think it's kind of based... supposed to be New York,
right?
Yeah. So he's, I don't know, maybe like California, basically. It's a couple of countries away.
Okay.
Countries? States.
Okay.
States, Andy, states.
It's a long road country.
In the DC,
This is the trilogy,
California is a new country.
Shadow tells Gordon he needs to convince Joker to stop his army, so Gordon agrees, but says the GCPD can't look to be involved. Gordon tells Shadow they should alert the country, California, but Shadow says there are leaks in that government, and if word gets out before they get there, it will be worse. So Gordon says he will follow the two in a car, and Shadow reluctantly agrees. And then we have a scene where the Shadow breaks Joker out of jail, and we see Gordon following from a safe distance behind. Act 2 is like a dark buddy cop road trip movie where the Joker and Shadow get into the psychology of who they are and why they do what they do. Trying to show the Joker isn't as crazy as Shadow and people think. Talking about his backstory, but he's starting to get certain things mixed up. Because we know everything about Arthur Fleck at the moment, we kind of have an advantage where he's obviously trying to convince someone he's not, quote unquote crazy, and we kind of obviously believe that. But someone who doesn't know what we know, obviously is not going to believe that. So it's kind of, I'm trying to emphasize that way. But at the same time, he is slightly going a bit more insane, so he's mixing things up and getting some of his backstory wrong. They start to talk about family, and Shadow obviously giving nothing away, but the Joker being able to read his stoic face like a book. He tells Shadow all it takes is one day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. That's how far the world is from where Shadow is. Just one bad day. Which is a line from the comic.
Very nice.
Extra points. Bruce Wayne is brought up in conversation, and we learn his parents after his parents were murdered, he supposedly went insane, although Joker never saw him in the asylum. So if this act is supposed to be quite light and road trippy, but if we need some action, they could go to some informants or something, and there could be some fights, and then maybe lead into like a race against the time moment. End of Act 2, there's something goes wrong between Shadow and Joker. Maybe there's an actual genuine trust building between the two, but then it's broken. Joker could take something the wrong way, mishear something, or anyway. But they get into a fight, and Joker injures Shadow. Gordon is a little bit behind, but when he pulls over, he sees Shadow injured, and then Joker comes out from nowhere and knocks him out. He radios to the cops in the country, California, that he has arrived, and the goons come and pick him up, Gordon and Shadow. And again, Shadow can either be knocked out, or he can have a little fight and then get knocked out. Act 3 is set in an abandoned amusement park, and Shadow and Gordon wake up in cages facing another cage with something inside covered by a sheet. Joker stands on a stage in front of the whole amusement park filled with his army. Half the goons are live streaming him, and Joker tells the world that the world has made him a broken man and a monster. All he wanted to do was fill the world with laughter and joy, but no one ever listened. He goes on about how things have to change, but for that to happen, there has to be consequences. The sheets in the cages are ripped off to reveal a young lady. It's Gordon's daughter, Barbara. There's reasons she could be there. She could be in the country. She could be Gordon's assistant, but that kind of, she's not just suddenly there. Magic trick from the country. There's reasons, easy. Yeah.
Give that the script writers.
Yeah, pitch not the script. Joker tells Gordon the world needs to stop fighting back and accept things are wrong, and he needs to reset the status quo. But he needs a good man in charge of the police, and offers Gordon the chief of police. Gordon refuses, and he sees Joker shoot Barbara in the back, paralyzing her and leaving her helpless in the cage. Shadow then breaks free and manages to blow up the stage. He has like shadow bombs, like Batman does. Throwing Joker and Shadow to a secluded section, basically. There they can have a small fight, but Shadow easily overpowers Joker. But Joker manages to win with his words and convince Shadow that things do need to change. And then Shadow can either take off his mask, basically to reveal, shock, it's Bruce Wayne. And then Joker can kill him because he's like rich and obviously part of the problem. Or maybe it's just the comic book nerd in me wants him to leave the mask on so Joker can actually just stab Batman. But it probably makes more sense if he takes the mask off. And he goes, you can kill me because I am rich and part of the problem and maybe insane. So he does. He kills Bruce Wayne. And as he heads back up to the amusement park, we end with like maybe a narrative or something. An optimistic joke. Something like, it may be hard, a change may be a hard word to say, but that's just because it's Latin. Because the origin of the word change is Latin. And then I did have in brackets, make sure you make up a better joke before the podcast, but I didn't see that till now.
There you go.
Right. Okay. So,
yeah.
It's notes time, you right? I'm not cool.
That's it. Yeah.
So,
hit me.
I like it. However, I think it feels more like a Batman film than it does a Joker film, and it's quite big. So my first question was, so Batman has quite a significant presence in it. So how would you ensure that the focus still stays on Joker? And there's also the issue of like, Bruce Wayne was a child in the last Joker. How much time has passed between Joker 1 and Joker 2?
I saw him as being like 13 or something like that in the first one, and then on the radio he won't say it's been between 5 and 8 years, but it's I can imagine him being like kind of what the Robert Pattinson movies are going through, is kind of a younger Batman.
Okay.
So like to be honest, he could be like 18, and I'd still kind of buy that, and he'd be an all right kind of physical foe for someone Joaquin Phoenix's like age. But I mean, without it, unfortunately, like keeping the film centered around Joker would come out more in the script and the dialogue. But I was trying to think, where could you take the Joker? What more could we learn about the Joker? Mm-hmm. And I like the idea more of like him losing himself, which is why when he's talking about the backstory, he can't really remember. But no, that was basically just because we need character development of some sort in a film, and Batman is just who we don't really know much about yet. But it's still Joker heavy. But yeah, it's hard because it's just going to be in his dialogue and stuff, and how he convinces Batman basically to be not Batman anymore.
And you do quite a controversial thing where you introduce Batman, but then you also kill him in the same same film, which I think would be a very hot take. So once you've done that, where like let's say in a potential 3, like where would you go from here?
Again, like
Robin.
I don't know. Yeah, Robin maybe push him up. Again, this is a sequel pitch, but I don't want a sequel to this film.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then so I don't want a sequel. So again, I'm kind of trying to leave it a little bit open. I'm trying to like when he's like walking back to the amusement park, and he's like, everything will be okay. He's gonna have a monologue, like a voiceover, like everything's gonna be okay, and the new status quo will be made. But obviously, he's doing it in the wrong way. So I want the audience to be like, well, is he gonna do it in a quote-unquote nice way? Is he going to do it his way, this new aggressive way? Or is nothing going to change, and once he gets powerful, nothing will change? So,
have you thought about what you'd like in the soundtrack? Because we're a little more forward now, ahead in time, so you can play with some more fun songs. Maybe no more Gary Glitter, but
yeah, no, there definitely. I don't know. There definitely have to be something in the Batmobile. There have to be, I don't know, the stereo or something. We've never seen the stereo in the Batmobile, so yeah, maybe the Joker finds it and he's listened to Jedward or something. That would so destroy Batman's character,
What
wouldn't
the
it? Oh my
fuck?
god!
That's crazy, Batman. You got
Oh no,
Jedward
yeah,
in it.
Jed wouldn't be there, would he? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, no, it's 8 years after. Oh, I don't even know. Oh no, I don't even know.
In this
Fucking Jedward weren't even
Where was
alive.
Hanson around?
In this universe, Jedward exists in the 90s.
Yeah, every universe.
In the
We can't get away
DCU.
from fucking Jedward.
Oh, yeah, that's all my notes for that one. I think it sounds like a great Batman Beginnings film. I'm just worried about potentially losing that focus on Joker as he transitions into this bigger kind of Prince of Crime kind of thing. But I think that's a general issue that everyone probably faced when writing their sequel pitches.
I was gonna say it's hard to say because I want the focus obviously to be on so much say the camera to be on Joker, and most of the time it is kind of shared with Batman. But that is kind of what I was going for. That's gonna say I wanted a buddy cop road trip where they do kind of have equal screen time.
Oh, I did have one more question because they've obviously met. So would you have any sort of inkling?
No, because I want the idea that Bruce Wayne has gone a little bit insane.
Okay.
So and Joker doesn't know he's Batman or the Shadow and stuff. So again, Batman could mention a time where some stranger put his fingers in his mouth, and maybe they both don't remember. But
okay, I like that. I do like that kind of two sides of the same coin almost. I think that's an interesting way to kind of bring Batman back down to Joker's level. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Who would you like to pick on next?
I would like to hear Matt's pitch next.
Matt.
Did you pick me because of the connection in the titles where Andy clearly saw mine and thought, joke's on you, Matt, I'm going first.
Mine's been in the whole
I
week,
don't know.
Matt.
I don't know what you're talking about. These two titles sound completely independent of each other.
My title is Joker, Fool Me Twice. One liner, Gotham is burning, the cockroaches are feasting, and a sinister new power is rising.
Power rises.
I like that.
Yeah, that's my third movie, leave it out. Good stuff. Right, so we open in the same hallway that we closed the first movie in, and the guard is chasing Joker from side to side again, and the camera tracks along the corridor this time. As we're near that T-junction at the end of the corridor, it's now suddenly the guard that's being chased by the Joker. They both vanish off screen left, and as the camera reaches the end of the corridor and bears right, we hear a bone-crunching sound, and we see the Joker over the top of the dead guard, pinching the keys and freeing himself. Immediately cut to title, Joker, Fool Me Twice. From there, we snap back to the outside of the Arkham State Hospital, and we learn that essentially he's in a similar nurse outfit to Ledger's, so it's a bit of a homage moment, walking away from the hospital in a similar shot, but we don't see any explosions. He walks through the streets of Gotham, seeing the leftover from the carnage that was caused, and we see the newspaper clippings similar to the first movie, and basically we learn that it's been about 4 weeks since the end of the first movie, so this takes place quite soon after. In an alleyway, he's walking the side streets, he heads down an alleyway, and he sees a load of graffiti of clowns killing cops, and he starts his maniacal laugh, which brings on the attention, and he's confronted by 3 men. One of them gets very hands-on, but Joker instantly dispatches him, much to the shock of the others, just kind of showing this nature to snap now that seems to be coming out of him, and being able to take on much stronger individuals. Yeah, he snaps and they realise who it is and they immediately bow to him. We're then going to have a load of exposition dialogue of the 2 other guys walking into some place to meet. They're talking about the gangs that are rising in his honour. They're fighting back. They're kind of fighting against the rich. They take him down a back street, they go into a side door, and there's a load of gangsters in there, and some of the mob bosses are in there. The lackeys are all super excited, they scream and they cheer at their hero's return. The bosses, however, sit there, they're looking a bit more concerned. The power that they have seems to be slipping away from them, perhaps. One boss, however, is sat very silent. He's a rather rotund chap with a top hat and tails, sporting a monocle. Act 2 of the movie is basically Joker becoming more and more maniacal. He's feeding off the adoration of the lackeys, and he's confronting these different mob bosses, basically making them swear fealty to him and submit to him, or if they kind of stand their ground, he kills them in all sorts of really fucked up ways. And of course, the lackeys then immediately submit to him and become part of his army. He keeps explaining that he's wanting to bring the full circus to town next time, foreshadowing quite a major event in Gotham. There's a scene with the Joker and the Penguin meeting. It turns out Penguin isn't a mob boss, he's just there. He's a well-to-do chap who loves rubbing shoulders with the underbelly. He's slimy, he's obviously lying, but Joker smiles and he strokes the Penguin's face with a butterfly knife. I hope they were around in the 70s. If not, we'll just use a knife of any form. And he carries on, just uttering the words, "Fool me once," he says, laughs, and walks away. Penguin does show a sign of relief, obviously. He's just come up front with the Joker. In amongst the scenes of the Joker getting all this notoriety and power, we do see the life of little Bruce Wayne falling apart after his parents' death. And he's preparing for a very major public funeral service. Of course, probably more foreshadowing. We also keep cutting back throughout the different scenes to the Penguin, seeing that he's up to something. He's definitely suspicious, although we're not really sure what he's up to until the end of the movie. So, we reach Act 3. It culminates with the Joker and his circus sabotaging the public celebrations for Thomas and Martha Wayne. It's like an act of defiance against the clowns and against the uprising, that they're going to celebrate the good people still in Gotham. But of course that is completely overrun by all these clowns, and it's very bloodshed. A lot of shit doesn't go down well at all. Joker, having inspired his troops, probably stands on a burning police car or something, inspires his troops, and he slips away in all the chaos. We then cut to the private ceremony of Thomas and Martha Wayne on the Wayne Manor. And we see he's dressed up Arthur Fleck, and he's walking towards the function. It's quite a way away. He's on the hills, and you can kind of see overseeing the funeral. He's a way away, and we see him walking towards the function slowly with a smile, stroking the gun hilt. But he's suddenly grabbed by a bunch of cops. We kind of cut to behind and see it from the other side, and behind the cops is Penguin, who smiles a very wry smile and simply chimes, "Fool me twice," as more cops surge in and he's dragged away. Quite stunned for the moment at the treasure. It's the first time someone's really gone against him since he's had all this power, so it's kind of a moment of learning for the Joker. Composed again in the van, we see the Joker suddenly begin to laugh maniacally again, and he appears to kind of like smash one of his teeth in, and he reveals something that's sharp, and he kind of reaches up and starts pulling it out as the van's driving off. Penguin again suddenly goes from being quite confident and quite smug of himself to again a bit disturbed, and we see the funeral finish without interruption, and we fade to black credits. Post-credit scene, it'll probably be a mid-credit scene rather than post-credit scene. We have the exact same shot of the funeral from up above, looking at it from quite far away, but then we realise that time's moved on, and we see a man stood over the grave with freshly laid flowers, and it's a grave now. You can see the grass is grown back, so time has passed. We cut to a close-up of the man, a shadowed face, but there's enough light to reveal Robert Pattinson,
What?
a.k.a. Bruce Wayne, baby, the end.
What? Talk about a mic drop at the end of that. Right. So, I liked the introduction of the Penguin into this world a lot, because it feels, especially the way you introduce it, because it feels like a character that could definitely exist within this grounded world. It's one of the more kind of real Batman villains, and I also think it's one that hasn't got enough play. It sounds like even with the upcoming, like the Batman, it's still going to be a background character. So I like how you put the Penguin front and center, and he's much more. He's not like Danny DeVito, like fat chilling with penguins. And I really liked the disruption of the memorial services for Thomas and Martha Wayne, because I think that ties neatly into the problems and the like psychological turmoil of Arthur in the original, because like it makes total sense that he would then go after it, because it's you're celebrating the very thing that he was trying to stamp out, which I think is really smart. I wanted to ask, what relation does the Penguin have to the Wayne family, if he does? Because when I was reading it, I was like, okay, so is he working like with the Wayne family? Does he have a connection there?
No, I think it's very ambiguous if there is anything there. I think this is just... I'm quite inspired by the Gotham TV series in this. I kind of had pulled similarities from some of those characters. And I just really enjoy the portrayal of Penguin in that Gotham TV series, and how he's always kind of having to resort to clever tactics because he's not that really powerful man at the front. So I think this is more... He's not done it in terms of, or at least it can be hung that it's not necessarily that he's protected the private funeral, more that he's just going to take over the fact that the Joker's served his part in his bigger story now, his bigger picture. So, yeah, I must admit, I didn't put in, or certainly haven't thought of any deeper character relationships for the Penguin within the Wayne family at this point now.
Okay. How old is the Penguin in this?
I'm seeing him as kind of like late 20s, early 30s. Like, he's just lived this very luxurious life that we don't really know how he's how he's as big as he is. Certainly, is it food or is it a genetic condition? He's dressed in his top hat and tails, but that doesn't necessarily mean they need to be pristine. They could be rough around the edges, so that he puts on a front similarly to Joker in some ways, but it is just that it's a front. So
okay, I like that as well, because it's like he's literally having to take on like almost like a physical manifestation of everything he hates again, and setting up Penguin as kind of this rich villain against this poor guy who's lost his mind. I think is a really interesting dichotomy to explore, especially with the fact that Penguin technically wins at the end, which is also really interesting as well, because that is kind of how it would go in real life. I mean, this crazy clown man isn't going to be able to beat a guy who's got billions of dollars. But and the post-credit scene, when does that take place? Because Robert Pattinson is like his mid-20s, mid-30s as Bruce Wayne, so time has passed. So obviously, this would be more towards a threequel, but like, is Joker still around in this time?
I would absolutely be around. I have just rewritten the upcoming Batman film now, so it now very heavily relies on Joaquin Phoenix reprising his role as a slightly older Joker in the Robert Pattinson movie. That's just a bit of Matt Rushton dream scope in there. Imagining what if we could actually have it so that the two universes were tied, and obviously we joked about it in the review bit. That is just wishful thinking, but I thought it would be fucking cool if it turned out that Joaquin Phoenix was Robert Pattinson's Joker.
It would be cool. I think the only thing is, I think Robert Pattinson would probably just kill Arthur Fleck in about 2 punches.
Absolutely.
He's just like so frail, he punches through him.
They do some real fucked up shit to him in Arkham Asylum. That's what it is. He's essentially got the DC equivalent of the super serum in him, I think.
So he comes out and he's the bomb.
Yeah, basically. Why not? Oh god, I'm just shitting on my own pitch now. No, I rescind that. I redacted that statement.
No. I like it. I like the idea that he comes out and he's just ripped.
Yeah.
Because I suppose it kind of works. If he's taking on so many guards and beating the shit out of them, he's building up muscle.
It's intense workouts.
Okay, so last pitch. Ross, take it away.
Hello. I obviously saving the best till last. I have a really complex title of Joker 2. because I don't think it needs
good
anything
God.
else, because it's a fucking grounded movie. It doesn't need some shitty little semicolon fucking shit.
He's
like,
coming out the gate
fool me
swinging.
once.
Yeah. He also had jokes on you, but he just took it away.
Yeah, this is true. So Joker, now in prison, finds himself being used for political gain and his discovery of his new level of fame. So interlaced in my pitch, I want to have, like, you know, long shot cinematography being, like, you know, a big thing in mine as well. So I can take my time with this movie. So the movie opens and we see a puddle of blood. The camera tracks through it. We have the score of the previous Joker playing. We see multiple dead bodies. The camera pans up and we see the Joker sitting laughing in a pool of blood, a blade in his hand. Then a load of armed guards burst in, knock him to the floor, blacking him out, and then we see the title sequence. We then see a montage of him being sentenced to life in Arkham Prison for the murders of the hospital staff. We then get some cool, like, close-ups of Joaquin Phoenix stuff, you know, to get the idea that he's now embraced who he is, you know, really close up with him smoking, doing some really cool shit like that. We then catch a glimpse of news people outside reporting on the events and a huge crowd of people with clown masks protesting his trial. He gets shoved into a van and the crowd started getting rowdy. They then attack the van. The Gotham police have no choice but to open fire. The van gets away. He gets taken to Arkham Prison for all the baddies where they go. They all go there. He gets introduced to all the people on his wing, like I think Clarice from Silence of the Lambs, without the semen throwing in the hair. He gets put in his cell, and then he starts to do his bathroom dance thing. Why not? You know, put that in there. We then get a scene in the canteen of the prison in which he is approached by a big guy, a really, really big guy. He threatens Joker. Joaquin breaks his plastic fork and shoves it in his neck, and then uses his blood to paint a smile on his face. The inmates cheer, and he gets beat up by the guards and tossed in solitary. We then get a scene in the offices of Mayor Aubrey James. He is looking at some newscast of Joker. He sees his popularity with the people. He's talking to some guy so he can get the exposition. We learn that Aubrey James's popularity has gone down ever since the situation with the Joker. And obviously the fact that Gotham police are really, forceful in their protest in their, reaction to protesting. And it's not getting any better. So he comes up with a plan to try and get Joker released in order to win back the popularity of the people. Then when he gets out, he can have him killed or something, or murdered. Cut back to a padded room, and Joker is sitting there again. We want some great Joaquin Phoenix crazy improv that can be inserted there. Maybe he gets into a fridge or something.
Put another fridge in there.
Two fridges this time.
He then gets dragged into an interview room. Who is there? None other than Dr. Harley Quinzel. She starts to interview him, maybe a flashback or two of the Joker's childhood. And there's instantly a spark there, as we can see. We then have some more character stuff around the prison of Joker, maybe watching a news broadcast of the mayor saying he is a Joker guy, and maybe he has a clown face on or something, and he promises to release him. I want it to be kind of similar to the whole Tiger King thing, like, Trump is sort of using that as a way to, win over the people, to get him, won over by the people. So we have more interviews with Harley, establishing a bond that they are starting to have together. He then gets a visit from the mayor, and the mayor convinces him he's done no wrong and that he will get him out. He sort of the mayor manipulates him, kind of. Then there's a big courtroom scene, or whichever dramatic way they want to present it. The Joker is officially released from prison. The mayor is seen as a hero, and everyone's cheering him, throwing underwear at him, whatever, you know. We then have one final interview with Harley. There's a real touching moment. It looks as if they're about to kiss, but Joker is told that he's released and he's taken away from her instantly. Scene outside the prison with the mayor and Joker and a vast sea of people that come to see him, and all the cameras are there, and the mayor hands him some red paint to put on his face. He does. He puts the smile on his face. We then get a scene after the event in which the mayor hires a hitman to take out Joker, but to make it look like an accident. More scenes with the Joker adjusting to his fame, maybe an awkward scene with the cops that get mauled by the mob in the first movie. Maybe they get mauled again, who knows? Then, because they actually survive, like in the news report, it says they're in critical condition, but they're alive still. So then we get the hit scene, so the hitman scene, with somehow Joker survives the hit, but he's horribly disfigured with a Chelsea smile. He finds out it was the mayor's idea. He travels to this big mansion with some goons, breaks in, kills the mayor and his wife. One goon turns to the Joker and says, "What now, boss?" The Joker turns to him and says, "It's showtime." Then we have a montage scene with the theme of New York, New York by Frank Sinatra playing in the background. We get shots of Joker and the gang growing, maybe doing a bank robbery. Joker dancing down those stairs again, murdering those cops from the first one, maybe, him laughing, smoking, news bulletins, him hooking up with Harley. Basically, this final scene is going to give the premise that he now owns the city. The final shot is the crescendo of the song is him sitting at the back of a comedy club like a proper mob boss, and the credits roll. We get a post-credit scene of a mustached man arriving in Gotham, and a woman with him shouts, "Gordon!" And that's it. And then we get a post-credit scene of Bruce Wayne looking at the destruction of the city. He's only a few years older than he is, so he's about 15. Alfred turns it off. They have a little bit of dialogue with Bruce wanting to do something because he's a 15-year-old that's angry, but Alfred says he's too young. Anyway, annoyed, he runs outside, and we see him fall in an underground cave, and then we hear the noise of bat screeches. End of movie.
Wow. Who could he be turning out to be?
Oh.
So, this pitch, what to say about this pitch? I like it. I think it's good. I think it's a good pitch. It feels like a more intimate, contained film, which is continuing like the stylistic and thematic threads of the first one. I really like the political angle you're going for, continuing the inherent corruption and insidious grip crime has on Gotham, especially with the continued manipulation of Arthur. I think that's a really clever thing, because you're giving him more power, but he's still being manipulated, which shows that even though he is gaining more power as Joker, he's still almost like a pawn in Gotham's game, and he has to basically knock the whole board off if he wants to get onto it. And I really liked how you introduced Harleen. I thought that was really organic and like a natural continuation of where Arthur's story left us. And I think those moments give him a really human lifeline to continue some of those emotional beats that Joaquin's known for, like you said, that he's get some Joaquin improvisation in there.
Yeah.
But I also think those are some really good moments where you could get some Oscar-winning interactions in there again. Like you say, go back to the childhood, cast Jacob Tremblay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Who were you thinking to cast in the roles of Harleen and the mayor?
Oh, good question. Harley. I have no idea. Someone who has won an Oscar. I don't really know, actually. Who would you think? is the question. Who would you want to be in my movie?
Nice. That's putting it back onto me. Yeah, I see. I think Mayor Aubrey James. I'm just gonna do Harleen. Actually, I won't give you the mayor. But I think for Harleen, it would be good to have like a young actress, someone who's in like her mid-20s maybe, because it's got that weird angle, but also at the same time you feel sympathetic for them. So maybe like a Sabrina Carpenter, maybe, or a Kiernan Shipka. Because at this time, I guess it's not really Harley; it's more Harleen, and then kind of down the line you can corrupt her a little bit. But right now, it's kind of like that dichotomy of like good, innocent, pure, bad, evil, corrupted kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly who I was going to say.
That's crazy. It's like I read your mind. So
I think an older person for, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. No, actually, I was going to say Ray Winston, but then I was like,
ooh, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
But then he wasn't that great in Black Widow. But I don't know. I'll think about that. But yeah, I'm thinking someone slightly rotund, but very good. Like has won a few Oscars in his time. But yeah, Al Pacino maybe.
Yeah,
he's not very fun.
Because then you've got Joaquin killing De Niro in the first one. In the second.
Yeah, there you go. Al Pacino, there you go.
Who are some of the inmates that we could potentially see on Arthur's Wing? Because that's basically prime Easter egg bait right there.
Yeah, I think you'd have. It would go past one of them, and you wouldn't really see the person, but you see on the wall there'd be a question mark, probably. You'd see a girl with a cat, maybe. And I think that's it. I don't want to do too many. Can you not name
that? Who can I say that they haven't said?
And there's just a massive crocodile just sitting on the toilet having a shit. There you go. But yeah.
So Mayor Aubrey, like in kind of the comics, and I think in Gotham as well, he's sort of wrapped up in the Court of Owls and Carmine Falcone. Would you touch on that, or would we get like a scene where he's speaking with like a mob boss, or maybe like someone wearing a mask?
I did think that, and I did think that like that's the scene that he would have saying about, we can just kill him after.
So like the mayor's not even really in control. It's like something he's told to do.
Yeah, and that they use he's getting them as the mob boss, like he's talking to someone. You don't really know who it is, and he's like, we need him killed, and he said like maybe someone says, don't worry, I'll sort that out. I can see Matt shaking his head going, you're just changing your pitch now.
They just added so many more layers than mine has to the mic, for fuck's sake. He's like developing ideas to my cheese sandwich. Maybe it's a deeper thing, and then you could do that in maybe another one. Who knows?
Okay. That's all my notes and all my questions.
That's all your notes. Yeah. Well pitched, boys. Well pitched. Ooh. This is the bit where we get dirty. Gloves come off and we get down. At the sound of the giraffe. Good luck, Drew, finding a giraffe sound. Hit us up with why your pitch is the best. Enter a giraffe sound now, Drew.
Sab, you should pick mine, because mine is in the world that the Joker set, the original one. It doesn't have a stupid pun title because it would not fit in this world. The joke's on you would not work in...
A pun title in a Joker movie would absolutely work.
It would not
The
work.
worse pun, the better. So
you are right in saying that Andy's is a Batman movie. Unfortunately, it is a Batman movie, not a Joker movie. He tries to introduce too many things. And the same as Matt, I think he tries to introduce... his isn't as bad as Yeah, like he
Be
tries to
careful,
introduce
man,
the
'cause you
penguin.
have about 10 times the amount of shit that I have on mine, okay? So if I introduce them, like, you've just brought in a whole bloody Batman encyclopedia, okay? That's what I'll say to that comment, straight up.
And also, none of them know how the fucking Bruce Wayne is in
I
there.
do. Matt
He's
doesn't.
18.
Matt
He's
is
an
set 4
18-year-old
weeks.
talking to Arthur Fleck is supposed to be 40 years old in Joker, so he's talking to a 50-year-old in a car about like who he is. An 18-year-old talking to a 50. It's like dad and son talking.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's this odd couple on a kind of dark comedy road trip.
Andy's genre bending his movie anyway. His is a buddy comedy.
It's not actually like a comedy. It's supposed to just be dark. It's obviously the first one's got a little bit of comedy, but it's not like actual road trip. But like the Todd Phillips road trip film.
Yeah.
I think Matt might have got his timings wrong. Because
Well, you just said 5 to 8 years. You don't have timings in yours. What the hell are you on about?
It depends how old
timings.
the kids. It depends how old the kid is in the first film, because he's obviously
about
have to be
10.
like 18. So it's going to be 8 years then for mine.
Oh, so I'm getting done for a post-credit scene.
You said yours
Right,
is
so I'm
4
getting
weeks,
done for a
and then
post-credit scene.
Are
Right,
they going to
okay.
do that? Are they going to CGI Robert Pattinson down like 10 years?
That's
the
what?
thing,
Take the
Colin Farrell
post-credit
with the
scene
penguin
out.
in
That's
his.
fine. We'll just
So-
end the movie where he goes off in the police car. That's an easy fix. It's a lot easier to fix mine than your movie.
For mine, I expect Matt's. There's not enough obstacles for this protagonist to overcome. He just kind of saunters his way, kind of through the mob a little bit, and he gets maybe an obstacle at the end. But what are the audience watching basically for the first hour of this film? And kind of the same with Ross's. Like, what obstacles? What's the inciting incident that kicks off these movies? Mine maybe a little bit Batman-y and stuff, but you definitely know what's going on, where a lot of the time it feels this is going to be just dragging, with both Matt's and Ross's.
I mean, my comment. Hang on, my turn.
Oh, God, sorry. Go on, mate.
I just want to kind of bring back to the comment about the protagonist and the challenges they overcome. The biggest challenge that Andy's protagonist has to overcome is the Joker, because the joke's on you, audience. This isn't a Joker film, it's a Batman film. You fell for it. Thank you for your money.
And you kill Batman as well.
And you kill him at the end. You kill your protagonist.
It's like, there's not going to be another one, so let's just fucking kill him off. Well, fuck it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you see, if my biggest
I
problem's the
guarantee there's
post-credit
not going to be a
scene.
third actually now, so I like that. Yeah, definitely.
Your
Definitely
biggest
killing
problem's
Batman
the
off.
Act 2 and Act 3. It's, I enjoy the idea of a buddy comedy. It would be quite interesting to see Joker and Batman Shadow travelling together. So, but I certainly wouldn't fit this trilogy. That would feel a lot more comedic than I think it'd probably feel out of place. So that's an act that kind of falls flat, and then Act 3 comes from nowhere. You don't even know why they fall out. So when I have problems and holes in mine...
That's why I said there's a genuine trust being built, and that gets broken somehow.
What you need to know...
Because that comes out in the script.
You need to know a major... That's a major...
That's
a major
When you're having to go about something that's obviously going to come out in the script.
That's a major plot flaw. That's a major plot hole.
Come on. There's a trust building between the two, and it's broken.
Yeah, we need to know why from you. That isn't a good enough excuse.
Script coming from this is.
The pitch needs to have in the big moment that breaks this incredible trust. Anyway, there's enough of reasons why yours shouldn't win. And Ross's shouldn't win because it's just, we had a very intimate journey, and I actually disagree with you a little bit, Sab. I don't think Ross's is a very intimate journey. Ross is about so many more people than the Joker. The Joker's just the one in the middle that kind of gets pulled along a bit. And I like that idea, but I think it makes the movie much bigger and much bigger than the Joker, where, mine is still very much the Joker is the lead, the lead character in this movie. Penguin serves as a strong secondary, but it's still very much
with the most
Joker.
disappointing end to the movie.
Can I just say, so it's not the... Actually, go on, Ross, because this is a good point.
No, I was just going to say, it's such a disappointing end of Matt's movie. It's just like, I fucked you over. See you later.
Yeah, yours is just a montage of clips. Like, your whole third act is just basically showing 20 movies.
My big bit is him going to the mansion and killing the mayor. Then he has the bit.
Yeah, but that's going to take like 2 minutes, isn't it?
Them running the city and taking over all the celebrations and him
your-
in the
no,
middle
your
of that.
film-
How,
Then I
he's
bring
just
it
going
to
out and
much more
doing it.
personal and
How is this
after.
entertaining for the audience
Matt-
to watch if he's just going out and just doing it?
Matt, your film is 4 weddings and a funeral without the weddings. All right, so
Your
it's just
film
a
is
funeral.
leading to a much bigger movement, as is yours, Ross. But mine still has the importance of the Joker at the helm,
like how
not the commissioner,
And the Penguin, when
not
the Penguin
mayor,
doesn't do anything.
not the Falcones and the Carmines. It's everyone else in Ross's film, bar the Joker. Mine is the Joker orchestrating this.
No, but you
Mine's
don't
the only
understand.
Joker movie. Yours two, one's a
Yours
Batman
got the
movie and
Penguin
one's
in
a
it.
Gotham
Yeah,
movie.
yours is half the Penguin.
No,
And the Penguin doesn't
serves
even
as
do
a
anything
great
penguin-y.
secondary.
He's just a guy. He's just a well-to-do chap.
Oh,
Why not call him by his actual
You
name then?
just said
He's
that
literally,
mine
it's
isn't
so fucking obvious it's the
Yeah.
Penguin.
You just said mine
you
isn't
could've-
solely Joker. You were like, yeah,
You have
and
got Penguin
oh,
for a lot
mine,
of your movie.
Mine souls as a
I am
secondary.
going to hope
for
that
my-
Sab has more common sense than both of you bloody lunatics and listens to my points and remembers all the positive points that he said about the Penguin in my movie and the journey that the Joker takes with
Look.
his clown following. So I'm just
At
going to
least-
sit back now and let you two little children cry and scream over your microphones.
I'm just saying, hey, I don't want to watch a movie about a funeral, and I also don't want to watch a film about Batman being killed at the
Who
end,
doesn't wanna watch
being
a
introduced,
Batman
Interested
movie?
in
and then
Everyone
killed.
will
the
watch a
mayor
Batman
of
movie.
Gotham
Come
and
on.
the crime families either.
Hey, you
So-
will be if it's Al fucking Pacino, mate.
Sorry, my bad. Great little pull out of nowhere that was, wasn't it? It's a good thing you got
Hey, that
levels
was
and
in my
shouts in
head.
that arse of
That
yours.
was
Just
in
pull that
my
one
head.
out your arse, didn't you?
All right, we're running out of time, boys. Let's go to final
Sorry,
thoughts
Sab.
for
Thanks, man.
for Sab, and then he can give us our decision. Let's start with who went last. Ross went last, didn't you? Sum
What
up
am I
why-
saying?
Why
Why
should
should-
Sab pick you? Final thoughts.
You should just pick mine. Look, I'm not going to
Good,
give him a
good,
final thought. I'm going to tell Sab. Sab is going to make his own mind up. You do you, mate. You do you.
That's confidence right there, isn't it?
No, just yeah.
Matt.
I have nothing to say because you'll both just talk over me, so.
Oh,
Go on, man. Go on.
Sab knows why I should pick mine because we had the discussion at the end of my pitch.
No, you should pick mine because it introduces Batman, but he doesn't overpower the film. We explore both characters. Obviously, we know a lot about Joker. That's why you're saying it's all Batman heavy. But no, it's a fun little road trip and a good ending where the audience can make up what goes on. And we can lead to a third maybe if the money's there, I guess.
Right, well, I don't think I've heard you guys argue quite as much as you have
It's been a while. This is a good,
Yeah.
good
To be honest, I
debate.
think we could have gone on, but we're at an hour 20 at the moment. So we
Yeah.
can
very
wrap up.
divisive. So, is it time for me to crown the winner?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
Thoughts on our pitches and then the winner.
yes. Okay, so I'm going to go Andy first. Andy, I respect the directions that you're trying to go in. I think the part of the reason that the Joker originally was so successful is because it takes different genres and puts them together and isn't afraid to kind of put a new spin on things. And I'm always a fan of going against the grain when it comes to fandom. So killing off the Batman, it's bold, but it's an artistically challenging choice that I respect.
It's not Robert Pattinson. It's not going to come back at all or anything like
You
that.
have to be silent now. The guest is children.
Sorry.
Matt, obviously, you know I like that you introduced the Penguin. I think that's a great continuation of that world, and it keeps it in Gotham. And I also like the memorial being disrupted because that feels like a natural continuation of the psychology of Arthur and Joker and everything that all of the themes that the film was tackling in the first one. And Ross, I think it's interesting that you keep it quite intimate, quite contained. It's quite a small cast. You know, you got Harleen on the inside, you got Aubrey James on the outside. But there was one pitch where when I read it, I was just like, this does feel like Joker 2. This feels like the film they are gonna make. So this week's winner, I have to give it to Ross.
Hey!
I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. As soon as you added all those extra layers, I was like, for fuck's sake, man.
I think your films. I think all your films are solid. Andy, I think yours would make a really great Batman film as well. Matt, I think yours is strong as well. But it's just Ross. Everything about it feels like a continuation of the original, continuing a lot of those political threads. It keeps the cast small. And I think one of the most difficult things when it comes to making a sequel like this is that, like, Arthur Fleck in the original Joker, he's kind of a weakling. He's a nobody. And I think one of the challenges is, how do you make the Joker so he's stronger, but he's still being manipulated? And I think that's one of the biggest problems with this. And I don't think any of your pitches were bad at all.
It's the hardest thing to make this protagonist who's so powerful weak, definitely, and still have him, grow so much, and definitely.
I love that Ross does it at the end. I as soon as he was like, "What now, boss?" I was like, "God, Ross!
I like Ross's
3-movie journey."
that could be interesting to have him get involved in a bit in politics and stuff.
Thank you, Sab, for that crowning victory.
Yes, well done, Ross. You had a couple of good points. Well done for bringing Harley in. That was quite well done as well. And Matt, I do like Joker kind of going through the mob. That could be a very interesting his journey through the mob. So well done, man. All round.
Good pitches.
Well done, guys.
What's our next film going to be then, Ross, since you are the winner?
Next episode, we are getting all loved up, all lovey-dovey with our rom-com. So we are going to be doing the 1993 rom-com Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay. That's going to be... We're going to have to try and make this episode, or the next episode, very loving. Our debate section can't be fighting. We have to prop up each other's movies. And be like, no, don't pick mine. Pick the other two. And
it is going to be
our lowest rated episode ever.
Valentine's Day's on the corner.
Thank you to everyone who listened this week. If you like what you heard this episode, we have many more episodes for you to catch up on. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a like and a review. We're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everything under Sequel Pitch, or visit our website. It's sequelpitch.co.uk. Sab, where can the folks find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, just at Sab_Astley, and I'm writing all the time. I've got a thing coming up in the next month or so for Insider, and hopefully working some more with the Radio Times. So that should be fun.
Wow.
Nice. Keep your eyes out for Sab. That's it for this week then. Thanks very much again for joining us. Let's all give a massive thank you and goodbye to Sab Astley.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Mate, you've been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your expertise in film that we definitely do not have.
Very
to
true.
see.
We'll say goodbye from this week's winner, Ross Harmston.
Goodbye. I don't know what I was.
From Matt Rushton.
Goodbye.
Oh, yeah, I could have done the last.
Yeah, there we go. Goodbye from me. We'll see you next episode where we go, ooh, lovey-dovey.
Love you guys.